Audre Lorde as a feminist and lesbian and Black woman's voice. And, I'm looking at all three of those things equally, or, you know, I'm not privileging one over the other. Uh, is really historical because I don't believe there is anybody, I'll just say in the US culture, literature, writing, poetry, whatever you want to say, whose claiming of identities, to use Michelle's word, claiming of identities, uh, so benefited us. Um, so that's one part of her importance. And then, you take her poetry, which is exquisite to say the least, and very unique in how it renders itself to us. I mean, it's you got to really have some persistence to get to what she's saying in her poetry and who she's talking to and how people may receive her. We have her prose, and I think she knew we had to have her prose to be able to fathom some of her poetry, uh, to make that's just the way prose is, especially in this country. This country privileges, prose. That's all right with me. I don't care. Um, but it's literature, and I love literature. But yeah, that's what I think about Audre Lorde's contribution, and certainly her contribution to African American literature. But she did this thing, where she did this triangle relationship between US, Caribbean, and Africa. Let me stop. Which gave us, which was a big contribution. It gave us more understanding of diaspora. So, she was important. She was brilliant. I think she was a prodigy, but that don't make no difference. Audrey. Yeah, I said I was going to share this. When I lived in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and this was probably about it was after 1973, let's put it that way. And I was involved with a community of people who were supporting a particular political prisoner. Uh, and you know, and so we had to do programming on behalf of this political prisoner. So, I asked Audrey one year if she would come and do a reading in New Brunswick. Have you ever been to New Brunswick? You don't know New Brunswick, New Jersey. Oh. It's in central Jersey. It's where the main campus of Rutgers University is. So, you know, Paul Robeson walked through New Brunswick, even though he is from Princeton. He walked. Anyway, that's New Brunswick. It's a pre-revolutionary town. And that's where I lived for 17 years. And I invited Audre to come and read in New Brunswick, which was in the evening now, you know. But luckily, she lived in Staten Island. So and she drove. She drove. She didn't just fool around. Uh, so she and her partner at that time, Frances Clayton, came to New Brunswick. And so, Audre and Frances are there. Audrey's there. And I said, there's only two people in there, including these five of us who are meeting you. Let me stop laughing. But she didn't care. She just came in there. She read anyway, like she was going to read to 100 people, you know. She was very down to earth that way. You know, I think people don't realize that, but she was very down to earth. Sister, mourning is a time for miracles. A core of the conversations we never had lies in the distance between your wants and mine. A piece of each buried beneath the wall that separates our sameness, a talisman of birth, hidden at the root of your mother's spirit, my mother's furies. Now reaching for you with my sad words between sleeping and waking, a runic stone speaks. What is asked for is often destroyed by the very words that seek it, like dew in the early morning dissolving the tongue of salt as well as its thirst. And I call you secret names of praise and fire that sound like your birthright, but are not the names of a friend. While you hide from me under 100 excuses lying like tombstones along the road between your house and mine. I could accept any blame I understood, but picking over the fresh and possible loneliness of this too early morning, I find the relics of my history fossilized into a prison where I learned to make love forever better than how to make friends, where you are encased like a half-stone peach in the rigid art of your healing. And in case you have ever tried to reach me and I couldn't hear you, these words are in place of the dead air still between us. A memorial to conversations we won't be having, to laughter shared and important as the selves we helped make real, but also to the dead revelations we buried stillborn in the refuse of fear and silence. And your remembered eyes, which don't meet mine anymore. I never intended to let you slip through my fingers, nor to purchase your interest ever again, like the desire of a whore who yawns behind her upturned hand, pretending a sigh of pleasure. And I have had that too already. Once I thought when I opened my eyes, we would move into a freer and more open country, where the sun could illuminate our different desires and the fresh air do us honor for who we were. Yet I have awakened at 4 a.m. with a ribald joke to tell you and found I had lost the name of the street where you hid under an assumed name. And I knew I would have to bleed again in order to find you. But just once, in the possibilities of this too early morning, I wanted you to talk, not as a healer, but as a lonely woman talking to a friend.